Love. What is it good for?
Absolutely nothing.
Wrong lyrics. Anyway, Thor, Love and Thunder, it happened. It was a movie that came out, and we have seen it in theaters.
We did.
Like, within the hour we got here.
And we all really liked it. Every single
one of us loved it.
Had a joyous experience that we
Cinematic experience of the decade?
All right, I get it. Everyone's going to hate me by the end of this review. I accept that.
I don't think people hate. Like honestly, like the reviews of this have been across the board.
And I'll say I actually did really like this movie. I enjoyed it quite a bit. It is far from perfect.
Yeah, no, it's not perfect. It's messy, but I kind of like it.
It's tonally inconsistent. It's like, I mean, you get tonal whiplash throughout this movie. It goes from this like 80s music video, like it looks like it's inspired by like heavy metal, where you know, Thor is doing all these amazing like boxing way below his pay grade creatures, and then like
alien bikers.
Alien bikers who look like they came straight out of the anime heavy metal. And then you jump straight into some like a medical drama.
Yeah.
Just, woo!
Yeah, and it goes from like comedic to dramatic pretty quickly.
Very quickly. And without warning.
I think Taika tries to smooth it out by having the characters try to have a sense of humor throughout, even when they're taking things a little more seriously.
Which to some might not be the best way to handle it.
It might grate on some.
Yeah.
Scott?
Thoughts?
Oh, thoughts? My thoughts?
We're prodding you to say some negatives.
Oh, okay. I really don't like the fact that the film opens on exposition, very clumsily delivered by Korg to help fill in a bunch of character development that the other movies just kind of failed to give, and inform us of why Jane and Thor broke up in the first place, which was a very important subject that, to the discredit, I suppose, of the other films, they completely fucked up entirely. So I understand why here they want to make sure that they establish this was their relationship and this is why they broke up. But by doing it this way, I don't feel invested. I feel like I have been info dumped.
I guess I can understand that, but to this film's credit, I actually felt like the way it told the story and showed you the part, because this movie is all about the relation. I mean, the movie's called Love and Thunder.
Yeah.
And it's about confronting all the big things that come with love. I mean, right from the beginning, the motif is like, find somebody that makes you feel a little shitty when you don't have them.
Yeah.
And it's like...
And thematically, I liked that.
And the way they showed the relationship, I felt there was a lot of charm to the way they did it, even if, if you didn't like the Korg narration... but...
Korg's entire joke is that he's a rock man with a Kiwi accent, and that's it.
I'm cool with it, though.
I liked it. I think he's a fine, I'm in the background character.
A giant rock man who goes, hey man, hey bro, what's going on, man? It's fun.
Hold on, when are we doing this? Oh, you didn't say go. Okay, we're going.
Yeah, it's not that I hate Korg, it's just that I don't like them using Korg to give me story-relevant information. I feel like that's kind of the problem that I ultimately find with Taika Waititi's take on Thor in general. I don't need a Zack Snyder film, okay? I don't need something super serious and artistic. I don't need it to be this oozah. But what I do prefer out of my films is that they at least try to invest me in the story that they're trying to tell in a meaningful manner. And Taika's films, specifically his Thor films, have failed to do that. I love Jojo Rabbit, don't get me wrong. I definitely think I'm a Taika Waititi fan, but his interpretation of Thor and his universe is a mixture of fun and highly enjoyable cosmic antics, which I really do like, but it constantly undercuts its own characters and story. And they even repeat the same joke they did in the third film with the whole, we're going to recap the events of the previous film through a really bad play.
I did think that one went on a little too long this time.
That went on too long in Ragnarok.
I disagree. I think in Ragnarok it was fine. And this one, it was just like a little too long, a little too bloated.
I was feeling it getting a little flabby, and then it ended. But I enjoyed that because I think it was only. I guess let's just make it clear. It's clear now. We're not talking about this without spoilers. Yeah. So we're only talking about the beginning so far. Yeah. But you're gonna want to talk about specifics.
I honestly just to counter this before we go into spoilers.
Yeah.
you're talking about like the tonal like problems that you have with Taika and Thor. I think Thor is the perfect character to do that shit with, because have you ever like, listened to stories of Norse mythology, like actual Norse mythology?
Yeah.
Thor is an absolute out of his mind weirdo in all of Norse mythology. He is just a lummox that gets his way through because he is just too powerful to stop. And I think it's perfect to have him in those situations where it's like, yeah, no, none of this is really that problematic for me. Like I'm going through whole armies, and that's the entire joke they make with the Guardians in the beginning. It's like, he's the god of thunder. He is more powerful than like literally anybody else around him. And so having him be in this situation where you're basically cracking jokes and in this absurd context where you have a boat being pulled by some goats, that's Norse mythology. And so having it be this farce, I think really works because of that.
See, to a certain extent, I understand where you're coming from with the characterization of Thor in ancient, mythology, and wanting to represent that in a modern lens. Mm-hmm. But, that's not the way Thor's been presented in a lot of the other Marvel properties. In fact, like in Thor 1, he is kind of still a lummox. He's obviously kind of a meathead. He's a battle prince of a place that banished him because he was too fucking irresponsible. Mm-hmm. Completely okay with that. But in his initial film, he doesn't come off nearly as fucking brainless as he does in these later films, where he's like so fucking goofy and wacky to the point where he's making Peter fucking Quill act like the mature one in the room. Peter Quill is the one who's telling him how to be a more mature adult. You understand why that's a little weird for me, right?
I think part of it is that they gave him character development not off screen technically, but like the thing that happened in Endgame fucked him up a bit and has changed.
He's had to grow up.
He takes things a little more seriously.
Whereas Thor, like, while he's dealt with loss, he responds to that by shrinking in and becoming more childish. So ultimately, in this movie, you have a god that throughout this course has been learning slowly what it means to be human, and in this movie, you have a human that is learning what it means to be a god. And
I'll also note, it's only
two mortal characters learning what it means to be god.
And also note, I think throughout, he starts this film acting more childish because that's what he's doing to cope. And by the end of the movie, he has actually matured in how he's interacting with everyone. Like, they actively show how the way he's interacting with the children, with everyone, changes throughout the film as he opens himself back up again.
Which, by the way, that children scene, I thought it was going to be kind of like, cringe, like, oh, here we go. I actually thought it was charming.
I really liked this.
I like that shot.
Wait, which one?
The children.
Oh, I mean, they're okay.
The one that could probably be seen as,
Oh! Okay,
at the very end, the climax.
Yeah.
I really liked that.
I like that a lot.
Actually, you know what?
I think that's great for kids.
Mm-hmm. I definitely think a lot of the kids watching the movie,
they're gonna be so excited.
They're gonna fucking freak at that scene, and that's why. That's why even the part of me that was a little bit like, I like the scene all on its own, but even the part of me that might have had a problem with it was like, oh, kids are gonna fucking love this.
And there should be more things in this movie that cater to kids, I think.
Yeah,
I think that's actually good.
Because it gets real dark.
It does get real dark.
It's real dark and real in a lot of ways.
Kids getting dark. But yeah, you do have to give the kids something, because these movies should be partially for children. I think that's something that should just always be true about these movies, is that superheroes are for children. It's cool that we like them, but children should like them.
We like children's. We like a lot of children's anime too, and those are geared to. Yeah, it's fine.
I will say this. Ultimately, I don't think that children always need to be represented in superhero films.
Not always, but it's good to have something for them.
Especially in something like Thor: Love and Thunder, or in the regular Marvel movies. I'm definitely okay with them being stuff that kids 10 to 12-year-olds at
I think every Spider-Man film should partially cater to kids. Every single one. I don't want a Spider-Man film
that is not for kids. You know what? I can actually sort of agree with that, because I definitely feel like Spider-Man is
he's the
hero.
kid's
Like,
superhero.
Yeah.
there are some superheroes where it's like, yes, you need to cater to kids. You need Superman. You need Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Not necessarily Batman, but a little, like, you can go adult with Batman.
I'd like to see some Batman that's for kids here and
Yeah,
there.
Yeah,
and we get that sometimes.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
sometimes, it's nice to
But
get
like
that darker
Moon
Batman.
Knight not being for kids, fine.
Oh yeah,
right.
Moon Knight should not be for kids.
Miss Marvel being for kids, perfect.
Have you guys watched that? I have
I've
not
not
seen a
watched Miss
single
Marvel yet.
episode.
Moon Knight?
No, Miss Marvel.
Oh, Miss Marvel.
I've not seen Miss
Miss
Marvel yet.
I have not seen a single episode.
I'm going to watch it. I just haven't watched it yet.
Everything all right?
No, you're good.
All right, cool.
But yeah, no, I like that Thor: Love and Thunder is like, it has dark moments. It has some really fucked up shit that, like, portrayed in a way that's just appropriate enough for these movies. Like the gore.
Yeah.
Like there's like
Gore
straight
the
up
God
gore.
Eater. There is
No, I'm
there is
talking
straight
about-
up gore.
Yeah.
And I mean, it often
Like,
involves gore. So
They did a thing in this movie, which is they portrayed, like, again, we're talking about spoilers now.
Hyper-violence.
Well, they portrayed God's blood like ichor, like golden,
Well,
so that they could do really violent things.
to be fair, I think in the scene that you're talking about, who they fight, I don't think they're supposed. I think they're like automatons. I don't think
No,
they're.
no,
those are
gods.
people.
Oh,
The first
They were-
god we
they were-
see who gets murdered, he bleeds gold.
I mean, he does.
So every single one of those guys is like a real person who's alive that they are murdering.
I
and
like
blood is
their
everywhere.
depiction of, like, the selfish gods too. Just
Oh,
this,
I really-
like, why the fuck would I care about you?
I'll be honest, the political end of my leanings was like, yeah, fuck these powerful people who don't help anybody.
Oh wow.
And Russell Crowe coming out looking like Robert Baratheon. Just
You know what? Never mind. Maybe I do like this film.
This movie's actually like it's like, no, the gods suck. They're all about themselves. They live these high lives above everybody else, and like only Thor is good because he shares his power with people and does everything
Yeah.
he can to help people who don't have.
there
the
are a
power
lot
he
of
does.
Thors in this movie.
And he shares power, like, and it's like one of those things. Like, there's a theme in here with that, like, that's actually very strong, and like it's very intentional. Like, I think the fact that Thor shares his
but
power with
without
other
being
people,
like super overt.
yeah,
Yeah.
Like it's not in your face about it.
Yeah, and like the movie starts, and this is, I'm just thinking about this right now. Like, I'm still absorbing the film, but the movie starts with Thor being like kind of shitty about like, oh, but like she has my powers, and like I didn't really like, and then
like,
by the
what's
end
up
it has
with
him willingly giving other people his power in order to help them, them.
Yeah. Minor spoiler. I feel like at this point though,
We can
We
go,
can just mark this as a
like,
spoiler review.
Yeah, I just think in general from this point forward, if you're still watching, yeah, we'll talk spoilers. But
Yeah.
I legitimately liked a lot, like, tonal inconsistency aside, everything that, like, kind of like those scenes that give you like tonal whiplash. I'm surprised that despite all of that, it came together in such a package that I actually really enjoyed in its entirety.
I'll be like I'll just say straight up, this is another Ragnarok. Like, it's more Ragnarok. It's Ragnarok Part 2. But for me, I like the execution of this film more than I liked Ragnarok.
really?
Way more.
Oh wow.
I think Ragnarok had a more like consistent through line, but I might agree that I enjoyed this more upon first
I
viewing.
think a huge part of it is I liked the places they went to more. I really liked them visiting the place with all the gods. Like, I think the places
it
they
felt
went
like
to were
it
more
felt
fun.
like an adventure, like an epic.
Yeah, it was more of an adventure film than the other one, which had them in specific places more. And the Battle Planet was fun in that movie. Visually, I don't care about it.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Visually, I liked this movie more. And I also I enjoyed the villain of this movie way more than Ragnarok.
Yeah, I
liked Christian Bale as Gore a lot more than Ragnarok's villain. As much as I love Cate Blanchett, Hela did not do it for me because Taika was not interested in Hela.
Yeah, not particularly.
Taika's interested in Gore.
Yes. And that's yeah.
He actually finds Gore compelling himself, and I think that.
I mean,
breeds-
it's that whole like, dethrone God and like mentality.
And he also he sympathizes with Gore clearly as the writer
Well,
and
of
director.
course we empathize with Gore. We're millennials. We're all about killing and dethroning God.
Yeah, but like Taika does too. Like, Taika clearly likes Gore as a character, which is why he goes out of his way to sympathize with that character. And also, Christian Bale's having fun.
He is.
Christian Bale's having a lot of fun playing with
and
characters.
we're-
Kind of silly, but still menacing the whole time.
I won't lie to you,
absolutely-
the entire time I saw him with the fucking teeth, I'm like, you're acting really good for a guy with those shitty fucking looking teeth in his
But
mouth.
I really liked the
I fucking
performance.
Oh, yeah,
fucking
it's-
loved his scene with the children in the cage. because like they just finished like talking
and scary.
Yeah, they just finished talking to their hero, and it's like, yeah, no, that's Thor. He'll come and save us. I mean, he cut the head off Thanos. Cool. And Gore's like, oh, is it cool? And then he like summons a little shadow snake and rips its head off, and the children are like, God, like witnessing
like,
this.
You liked it so much just
what?
now.
It was so cool a second ago here.
Yeah, like
yeah.
And I really liked, like, he wasn't just being cruel, he was trying to make a
He's
point.
teaching a lesson. It's like, oh, you thought that was cool, huh?
Honestly, like, those parts of the film are the part, like, where characters get to play out consistently without dumb Marvel humor interrupting. Yeah, that's pretty good.
And I'll say, this movie had more of that than Ragnarok. Like, it had more times where it just took itself seriously than Ragnarok.
I would say
all of Jane Foster's early scenes are just like, oh my fucking God, like, Jesus.
So here's the thing. If we're comparing this to Ragnarok, which I feel is fair considering Ragnarok was Taika Waititi's first swing at Thor, and this is the second. For me, the structure and story and pacing of Ragnarok is just genuinely better to me than this film.
I can understand that, because Ragnarok does feel like it clips along a bit faster.
And if you're not enjoying the set pieces that they're doing and the bits that they're doing, then I think for me, because I was enjoying every step of the journey, I didn't care that it was a little messy.
I also found that while I don't like Taika Waititi / the Marvel humor in the Thor films, I'm sorry, I know a lot of people really like them. I get why. They just got very tiresome to me.
Humor is subjective.
Yes.
Well, and
hold on. I felt it was better in Ragnarok than here. I felt like a lot of the humor here, a lot of it was already kind of felt tired to me in Ragnarok, and it's not better here. It's not done better here. It's just more of it.
But I'll note he actually pulled back on some of the undercutting that he used. That he
Yes, he does. He does.
I had moments where I expected he was going to like do the thing where he's like, oh, and now we got to knock him down because he's not acting heroic. It's like, no, just let him be heroic. This time.
And I am so happy to see the characters allowed to be heroic.
He did listen to feedback.
Yeah.
Like he actually it's like, okay, we don't need to like undercut the characters every single time.
Yeah, we don't have to have a moment where Hulk's gonna come in and then have fucking Bruce Banner hit the floor.
And I think he got more comfortable with the drama too.
Yeah. Totally on board with that. But
I also really like Natalie Portman in this.
Yes,
this was her best performance as
She
Jane
was
Foster.
fantastic in this, and it's. I mean, granted, they gave her something to do that wasn't just like Thor.
Her first scene, I was like, she's acting so much better as this character now. She must really like working with Taika.
Yeah, her entire thing throughout, and she looks really good in the armor and the makeup that they do to differentiate between God. Natalie Portman, mighty Thor Natalie Portman and Jane Foster, cancer-ridden Natalie Portman. Like, really good transformation, really good, emotional basis for this movie. I'll say one thing. I am a sucker for, movie martyrs. And as I expected, near the end, it
Natalie
made
Portman
me
doesn't want to do more of these movies. She
doesn't want to, but she did it really good. And she got her eternal reward, and also the things that she did with Shattered Mjolnir was fucking awesome. I love the really rocks.
Cool.
Shattered Mjolnir is best fucking Mjolnir. Holy fuck!
It was a very neat thing, and then also I liked the shadow stuff.
The shadow stuff looked really cool.
They underused it a bit, but it was cool.
In the beginning, when you see him entering the town, you just see the shadows stretch.
A little cartoony, but I liked it.
Yeah, I didn't need the shadow creatures per se. I just really loved that effect.
Some of the shadow creatures were pretty cool looking. Otherwise, they were sort of they were kind of
noise.
They were a little bit Stranger Things.
They reminded me of Naruto kaiju.
To me, they were just
blobs of just black vapor.
For me, the monsters didn't excite me. There was things there for people to fight, and I was like, okay, whatever about that.
Yeah, but some of them still looked kind of the
designers did their job.
Yeah, their use in those shots was still kind of cool. But yeah, I want to go back to Jane Foster though, because I came out of this film nonplussed. But I really did love Jane Foster in this because I feel like her character actually gets a lot of time to develop in ways that she wasn't allowed to before. And when I heard that, they're going Jane Foster as Thor route, there was a part of me that was like, how the fuck are you going to do that adequately in this film without making it feel like it's just kind of shoehorned in because that's what the comics did?
The answer was surprisingly well.
I mean,
just give it an actual beginning, middle, and end in this movie.
Yeah, the one part I kind of wish that they and so here it ties back into the problem I have, like one of the bigger problems I have with the movie though. We find out why she can be Thor. Because literally, Thor told Mjolnir, protect her, whatever you do.
Mjolnir would still have to recognize her as worthy, though.
I mean, yes, no, I'm not saying that she's not worthy. But for her to then suddenly just get that power, I like the idea that it was literally a Thor basically being like, hey, if she asked, go ahead.
Yeah.
There's something about that. I like that being entrusted to her.
Yeah. And it foreshadowed what he did later at the end of the movie as well.
Yeah. And it proves that she is, in fact, totally worthy. She does everything that a Thor should do.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely not going to say that Jane Foster did not earn Mjolnir.
Oh, and he also just a note on that little spell that he did. He didn't even realize he was doing it. But
Yeah.
that's the power of Odin.
And and the thing that I hate about this movie is that scene is really important. It is part of awkward exposition given to you by Korg because, again, they didn't take the time.
His narration isn't that omnipresent in those scenes. Once he introduced them, they're basically a montage.
Yeah, and that sucks. It does. That's not good storytelling. It's not that you can't use a montage or a flashback or exposition in good storytelling. It sucks in this movie. It's very clunky and put up at the front. You get this amazing opening scene with Gore losing his daughter, meeting a god and killing him, and then you go directly into Korg's bullshit. Again, tonal whiplash and just
tonal whiplash. I understand, but I think this is going to have to be one of those agree to disagree kind of things.
Yeah.
I thought it fit just fine.
It is clunky. I just
a little
don't
clunky.
care.
It's not. It's not the best framing device, but for what they had to do, what they had to tell in this movie to make it a reasonable amount of time, I thought it was good.
Yeah, no, and I agree. It is clunky. I just don't mind. And that's really the difference for me.
Because I guess I'm tired of Marvel movies. That's my problem.
That I can agree with a bit.
And that's what I think I've been getting from a lot of the reviews too that have been all very middling on this movie. It's like Marvel fatigue is really setting in.
It is real. After Multiverse of Madness, I got out of that, and I'm like, that was okay. I enjoyed parts of it. I liked this a lot more than Multiverse of Madness. I'll say that flat out.
Well, and the thing is, I think it's just also about when the fatigue hits, because the fatigue for me actually hit midway through No Way Home, where I was just like, this movie's a very, very good commercial. I'm still having fun, but I'm a little tired of this shit. And then I watched Doctor Strange 2 after everyone had already seen it, and I was like, yeah, I like that. So I got through my fatigue, and now I'm on the other side of being like, okay, I'm having fun again.
Then you have things like the Eternals, Shang-Chi, which was all right. There have been so many fucking movies in this phase so far, and none of them feel like they have anything in common yet, and that's kind of frustrating for something that's prided itself on being this mishmash of a universe.
Actually, I'd like to touch on that just real quick. I say real quick, this could easily turn into a rant, but there's something really interesting that I feel like is at the core of that conversation. So we've talked a lot about how a lot of the new Marvel stuff doesn't feel connected, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, if you look back at the origins of the MCU, they didn't exactly feel all that interconnected either, right?
No, but I mean,
Hold on.
Avengers came pretty quick.
It came quick enough to kind of bring everything together.
Compared to the amount of content we've had between the last...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing about that, I actually had this conversation with a friend of mine where, she was talking about the fact, all those original Marvel movies, took their time to really build up to something. We're building up to something here. But I think one of the biggest problems that we find is that Endgame felt like a finale. Mm-hmm. It felt like the end of the MCU. Mm-hmm. And now it wants us to continue to care about the world of the MCU, prior characters from the MCU, prior stories from the MCU, as we move into these new films that aren't doing anything that changed the game, say like Iron Man did.
They've shown us a lot of galactic level threats so far. It's like, okay, I get it. There's galactic threats, multiversal threats.
I'm not talking about galactic level threats. I'm talking about Robert Downey Jr. coming into AC/DC as Iron Man.
Well,
no, hold on. I'm getting to a point.
Okay.
I feel like these movies aren't doing anything to get our attention and really grab them in a way that those original ones did. Like when you had again, Robert Downey Jr. coming in as Iron Man, this actor who hadn't done much for a while comes in, kills this role, makes us think, wow, superhero movies could be really cool. And Iron Man's just a good, plain old movie. It's not the best movie ever. It's not aged entirely well, but it's still good.
Well,
and that's
the biggest difference you're finding here is that at the end of Iron Man, you had Nick Cage coming in saying like, "Hey, I'm setting up for the
Nick Cage?
Avengers." Or sorry,
Nick Fury.
Nick Fury coming in. Man, now I'm magic. But Nick Fury coming in.
I'm putting together a superhero team as an like the old school '90s iPad.
No, that's
Bleached blonde hair.
That's original.
He would be into it too.
He fucking would have, but only if I also get to play Ghost Rider.
and then,
But you had that then. Now it feels like at the end of every movie, nothing is tying any. Like you stay for the end credits, and admittedly, like the end credits in this one was pretty good. I like.
I like
those.
that it was just about this movie.
yes, and oh my god,
I like how actually like insular this movie mostly is.
yes.
Like, it's like
that's-
Guardians of the Galaxy, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah,
We're in the
but,
Thor movie.
But then you run into that thing of where it's like, yeah, but nothing feels connected anymore.
I want that actually right now.
Okay.
So interesting thing about that. So Iron Man, and then we also had the Hulk movie. No one cares about that anymore, especially because Edward Norton was basically only the Hulk for one movie and then gone, replaced by Mark Ruffalo, who I like.
I enjoyed it.
But then we got Captain America, and everyone was like, "How are you going to do Captain America? He's such a silly hero." Chris Evans, the fucking guy from Fantastic Four,
And they actually get Joe Johnston to do a period piece, which he's provably good at.
and they fucking killed it. The first Captain America, still rock solid. Second Captain America, one of my favorite Marvel films.
Are we doing this for every movie?
Hold on. My point I want to get at is that we went into this new world of new MCU films, and I cannot tell you one that has done anything for me on the level of those first couple of films because they are so tied into the same shit they've been doing. Sure, we've got the multiverse now, but all that's done is just overcrowded the story.
Well, yeah, I think what the problem that's happening right now is that they didn't do what they really should have known to do, which is pull back and make it more personal again. It got really big. It had this big, huge finale, and what you're supposed to do after that, in order to keep momentum going well, is take the hit for a while, pull back, make it extremely personal, make it not super big all the time.
It kind of feels like they have been doing that a little.
But they haven't. That's the thing. Like Spider-Man: No Way Home.
Oh yes,
It was
like the opposite,
ostensibly supposed to be a personal film, and then it's like it's got all the Spider-Man, it's got all these old villains, and like okay, cool.
But it is about Peter Parker.
Yeah, ostensibly, but it doesn't feel that way when it's also about all these other Sony movies that it's a commercial for. And I maintain like my current thing about No Way Home right now is that it's very fun, but it's a very fun commercial for other Sony movies. I don't like that. But like. My own preferences aside, it was still like a big event movie. And then they go Doctor Strange 2, another big event movie. Like it ended up being about all these other things, including all these other characters. It's Wanda's involved too.
All they needed to do for Doctor Strange 2 was not have America Chavez. I don't dislike America Chavez, but she's easily the worst part of that film because she is the one who has the least presence there. She is a MacGuffin who they have to spend time trying to inform you.
They really
Check out
want
our
her
Doctor Strange review.
They really want her for Young Avengers. That's why she's in it.
Oh my
but
god!
And they feel like they're setting up for that, don't they?
They're really doing it.
They really are. We got Heimdall's kid now.
Yeah, that's true.
Which, by the way,
I like them.
I do like Heimdall's kid, but oh my Christ, I wanted to die at the moment where it's like, no, I'm Axel, based off of the singer. I'm like, oh, okay, I get it. You want to tie these back into modern shit? Move on.
He just doesn't want Thor to call him by a name he doesn't want to be called. Is that so wrong?
But I think like what I appreciate about Moon Knight was refreshing. I think we talked about this. What was refreshing about Moon Knight was it was its own thing.
Yeah.
That's really refreshing. And I find that refreshing about this movie too, is that it's mostly its own thing.
Do you think those Egyptian gods were able to get to that city?
They seem like they just hang out on Earth.
Yeah, they just kind of chill around Egypt. Like,
Yeah.
But do you think they could if they wanted to? Like, do you think they know
if they
how?
want to.
I mean,
I hope they can. I hope
they were there. Like just in Moon Knight 2, like he wakes up there, just what the fuck's happening?
But I think they made a huge mistake by not actually pulling back. Like they keep making every movie the biggest movie that has all these other characters in
I think
it.
Eternals fell for that the hardest, and
I didn't-
think it
I
was
still
also
have
the
not watched
weakest of them.
Eternals.
It's okay.
Eternals. The reason that I like Eternals is that I felt, though it was way too overpacked, it should have been a fucking show.
Check out our Eternals review.
Oh my god, it should have been a fucking show. There was nothing in the budget that couldn't have made that a show. I'm serious. I don't know who thought
overall,
it would be a movie.
From this phase, I think this movie is one of the stronger ones, and I would agree that it does have a lot to do with the fact that it does feel very centered on its characters.
I'm a little. I want Wakanda Forever to be a good movie. That's coming out in November.
I've seen nothing
I was
about
shocked
it.
I was shocked we didn't get a trailer.
There's no trailer yet. But
I have no idea what the fucking plot is.
I'll be honest. Like
That's refreshing, though, isn't it? Just like, ooh.
all we know is that spoilers for that. If you don't want to hear what I know about this movie, then don't listen. But like Namor is going to be in. That's all we know.
Oh, I mean that makes sense. Namor.
Yeah. God damn it.
Nah, I knew that already.
But yeah, that's the one. That's the one thing we know about the movie is that Namor is going to be in.
Okay.
And that T'Challa is not.
Although there's been this like weird thing on
sad.
Twitter lately where people were like, "We should recast T'Challa." I'm like, little late.
Yeah, no, well, and it's one of those things where it's like, I do think maybe the better call would have been to recast, but I also understand how that's emotionally a very difficult choice to make.
Yeah.
I personally believe that recasting T'Challa would have been a difficult but ultimately the right decision. I don't think there was a good...
I mean, they recast Rhodey and nobody...
I can't blame anybody
They recast Hulk and nobody...
Well, that's for different... That's a
They're both different situations.
But I don't blame anyone for any decision.
Yeah, absolutely. It's difficult to make regardless.
Yeah. But anyway, like the point is like, but like the fact that that's going to have another long mainstay character is also kind of just like, okay, I want these movies to be insular and like just be your own thing for a bit, and then it'll be exciting when characters come together again. If they're hanging out all the time, it's not exciting anymore.
Yeah, and to their credit, so what I was going to say earlier is that everything does genuinely feel a little bit disconnected. I mean, it's not that. The latest couple of films, like Black Widow, ultimately was going to feel connected to a certain extent, but even it on its own,
I forgot that movie existed.
Yeah, I mean,
it was a prequel at that point.
Yeah, Black Widow is a movie that needed to be made way, way before it was, and also not include Hopper. I can't remember his actual name.
Yeah.
The guy.
Well, and
He was one of my favorite parts of that movie.
He's my least favorite part of that movie.
Man, you and I are just not on the same wavelength.
My least favorite.
I hate his comedy. I'm sorry. I hated it.
My least favorite part of that movie was the fact that it tried to be a big budget film instead of just a small spy film, which is what it could have been and should have been. But
Agreed.
Stop spending all this money on these big action sequences that aren't exciting.
But the thing that I find, like, with this film, yeah, you're right. It does a very good job of getting rid of the Guardians early.
And just being its own thing.
But I do have to say, like, it kind of feels a little weird to set him up with the Guardians and then immediately get rid of them in the next movie, which ultimately I thought...
They had Obi-Wan and Anakin adventures off screen.
Yeah. Which, by the way, calling them adventures in your script, shut up.
Oh, that makes sense for Thor. I like that.
But it's so fucking like, oh, we get it. We're being meta. That's what it feels like every fucking time.
I mean,
what would you call them?
Classic Thor adventure.
What would you call them?
You understand what I'm getting at.
I kind of Thor specifically does talk like that. He always has, but he's very self-aware about his mythical status.
I know. It's just at some point it just kind of feels again like we have to have fun with the like. I don't mind having fun with the concepts, but it feels tired. It just the whole entire joke of him like pointing out that they're adventures and then like, oh, look at me, I'm trying to be bigger than larger than life as as I take out these guys. It's lost on me at this point. I've sat through.
But he's the god of thunder. He literally is bigger and larger than life.
I know, but it just comes off. I'm tired of these, and I'm going to be.
That's understandable.
I'm going to be completely honest, and this is going to be the hot take, and this is the one that's probably going to piss people off. I think that we let MCU movies be aggressively mediocre, and then still talk about them like, yeah, it's still good. It's still a Marvel movie. No, it's not good. It's middling. These movies are middling. They have tons of inconsistencies, tons of plot holes, terrible action. The action sucks in like 90% of these movies.
That's been one of my big complaints about them.
Yeah, I think the action sucks. The comedy is tired. Their plots are rote. They're constantly trying to be self-aware to the point, to the detriment of their scripts. I'm tired. MCU movies are tired.
I mean, it sounds like the fatigue has really hit you for this one.
Yeah, it has. And it's made me realize that the last several Marvel movies, and to be completely frank, everything leading up to Infinity War and Endgame have been processed junk food to the point where.
But that's kind of what these movies have always been.
Yeah.
That's what the big blockbuster has always been.
But remember earlier when I said that when they hit the scene, things felt different because they were doing different things, new things, crazy things.
Yeah, no,
By the time we got
I get that.
Yeah, by the time we got to Endgame, we were ready for it to end because we had already gotten all this stuff.
I'll also say they're flooding the market.
Oh yeah,
Not just them.
That's the biggest problem.
Not just them, but Star Wars is also flooding the market. Disney in general is flooding the market. Sony is flooding the market. DC is flooding. They're flooding us with all these like specific kinds of blockbuster films that are just exhausting.
The fact that none of us have seen anything from Ms. Marvel is very telling.
If you'd told me that 10 years ago we were going to get a Black Adam movie, I would have been like, oh, fuck, yes,
That movie
a Black
looks like
Adam
nothing.
movie. Yes. Now I look at it and I'm like, oh, hey, cool, there's Dr. Fate.
I looked at it, I'm like, that could be fun. Maybe I'll see it.
Yeah. And like my favorite stuff that we're getting out of this stuff is usually like the smaller things. I keep crave like that. That's part of what I really want with Spider-Man. I want it to be smaller. I want it to just be about him doing his own thing.
Did you see Shazam?
Yeah, I like Shazam.
Yeah.
It's fun.
It was a nice little movie.
See, I like going out to the movies. I think it's fun.
Yeah.
It's a fun thing, and I think this is a fun movie to see in the theaters.
Yeah.
That's really what the blockbusters always have
But if
been.
you're tired of Marvel shit, like Scott is, you probably
Understandable.
shouldn't go see it.
And honestly,
If you feel the fatigue super bad,
Just avoid it for now.
just stay back. It'll be out on Disney Plus in a month or two.
Yeah.
but I guess I'm just kind of sort of feeling frustrated because I'm going to see these movies that have lost their spark for me. Because again, like, even going into Infinity War and Endgame, two films that I genuinely enjoyed for being the bombastic finale to the MCU for me, as they were. Going into them, I was already feeling like, okay, I'm ready. Like, after Civil War, I was like, I'm not quite sure we can keep stretching this out, so let's get to the end game, and pun intended. And now,
I get it.
yeah. And now everything after that has just been cleaned up and setting up for the multiverse shenanigans. And it's like,
and I don't like the multiverse personally.
nope.
I don't know. I don't actually feel like the multiverse is going to be a massive thing.
Well, that's the thing.
At this point,
it's unclear what it is.
exactly, because
It feels like
the way they dealt with it in Multiverse of Madness felt like it's like, I mean, it can be a thing. Maybe it's not. What do you think, audience?
It seems like they're building up to Kang the Conqueror specifically, which I imagine you guys know nothing about that character.
I know.
I know a lot about Kang.
You do?
I know enough about him.
But yeah, like they're building up to Kang the Conqueror, who's gonna be in another movie that's coming up. I won't even say which one. But like he's gonna be a villain of another movie, and it's like okay.
Wait,
and
Kang?
yeah, a movie that's like in production currently.
I mean, that would have to be Fantastic Four.
Nope. But like that's the thing. They already said that there's multiple Kangs. Like it's like okay, well, and that is
Wait until you
Kang's
deal
whole
with
thing.
my variants.
Yeah, and that is Kang's whole thing. But like, yeah, it's like one of those things. Like, okay, I think Kang the Conqueror is their next big villain guy, and like the Fantastic Four will be part of it probably. But I don't. It seems like it's going to build to a Young Avengers, maybe. I don't know. But like, it's unclear what's even happened. So like all this multiverse shit is happening, and like.
It would be so funny if Kang the Conqueror is the Kid Avengers villain. Considering that he's already been brought up in fucking Loki of all places, and the Kid Avengers are definitely going to be a TV show. They're not going to get their own movie.
Well, and Young Avengers do fight Kang the Conqueror in the comics.
I would think, considering how Kang the Conqueror is a huge fucking deal in the Marvel universe.
I think it's a great way to establish that these kids are a contender.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
But it's just one of those things where like they kept their building up to things very light in the previous films, and now it feels like entire movies are being made to either again be commercials for other things or just as setup for other stuff. And like I get why, like I thought Doctor Strange 2 was fun. It was a fun movie. It felt very Raimi in a good way. But like I get why Scott Derrickson and C. Robert Cargill did not want to make that a film. They wanted to make their own. They wanted to make a Doctor Strange film, and when that's not what they were going to make, it's like okay, well then. We'll just go do the Black Phone
I mean,
instead.
you can tell.
I still need to see that.
Apparently, it's great.
Yeah.
You can tell the parts that. Oh, hold on.
Sorry. Not to. I know Nick's on a time constraint.
I am.
We have gotten so far off of a movie review.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we said what we want about the movie. Like,
This is just now an episode of the podcast.
I was gonna
That's
try.
true.
I was gonna
That's
try and
true.
steer us back in a sec.
Sorry, I don't.
So now,
Switch up the shot so that we can just make it. Okay, cool.
It's on Nick.
Okay,
yeah, ultimately,
just go.
we good?
Yeah.
We good?
Go.
Yeah, ultimately, at the end of the day, I mean, if you're dealing with the fatigue, which we all are in different levels,
Yeah, different.
if it's at your level, probably not worth seeing. Probably not. Just sit back for a little. I really enjoyed it, and I admittedly, I have been feeling Marvel fatigue, like a lot. But going into this, I liked it. I liked it as its own thing, which is good.
I think for me, it's been beneficial to I did skip out on Turtles. Like, I don't need to see it, and I didn't. I didn't see Black Widow when it came out either.
anything.
Like, and it's just sort of thing. It's like, okay, and it helps stave off the fatigue when I just don't watch everything all the time. I watch it when I feel like it.
Yeah. And that's really all there really is to it as to whether or not this movie might be worth it for you or not. I liked it.
Goats.
Scott did not like the goats.
They literally brought the fucking meme scream goats and made them a major part of the film.
I will
They
say
overused it a bit.
I will say I did like that joke more in MODOK, which like they did
still
this.
watched that.
It's fun. I don't think it's like amazing, but I thought it was fun.
But yeah, the goats they were overused a bit. But I thought it was good enough.
I
love their introduction. I love them on the ship, and then once
Every
they
once
were
in a while they punctuated a bit.
if
well.
they had been there for one scene, just the first scene, it would have already been too many. It's a fucking meme from 2017.
we are nobody to complain about that. We have made so many meme jokes.
I know we've made so many meme jokes, and we're also a bunch of guys who make internet videos. We're not Taika Waititi.
Yet.
I think that's it though. I think we said what we want to say.
Thor: Love and Thunder. It's in. What do you think about it? It's up to you to decide, because I do not control your brain.
There's naked
Yes.
Thor. There's naked Thor, and you know what? It's the price of admission.